I tried to recreate a $4,000 designer lamp as cheaply as possible, and yeah, that completely backfired. Every week I try to build a new project here in my workshop, and over the last few weeks I kept seeing this lamp everywhere. It's the famous Cactus Suku lamp, originally designed in the 1980s for Fleur Toto. Today it's incredibly rare, almost impossible to find in good condition, and when one does show up, it sells for absolutely absurd prices. At first glance, it looks simple. It's made from plastic, it doesn't have any crazy details, and the shape isn't that complex. So naturally I thought, this should be perfect for 3D printing. I mean, melting plastic into shapes is literally what this machine does. But very quickly, it became clear that this project had a few serious hurdles. Designing the body itself was actually pretty straightforward. But almost immediately, one big problem stood out. The tip. The original lamp has a very smooth, rounded top, and printing that in one piece is way harder than it looks. The lamp needs to be hollow, so it can glow from the inside, which means I can only print a single wall in spiral vase mode. And with 3D printing, everything is built layer by layer. Each new layer needs enough material underneath to rest on, so the higher you go and the steeper the angle gets, the less support each layer has. And at some point, gravity wins. I tried adjusting the shape, making the top a little less aggressive. But even in a smaller test print, the same issue appeared. The layers near the top started to struggle. So I started thinking about alternatives. What if I let the printer do most of the work and then finish the very top manually, using heat to gently soften and close the tip, creating a more organic ending instead of fighting the printer. With that idea in mind, I finalized the design. The original lamp is over 1 meter tall, which is obviously a problem for most 3D printers. But luckily, I have this absolute monster here, a Modix Z120. This thing can print parts up to 1200 millimeters tall, which makes it pretty much perfect for a project like this. So I loaded the file, started the print, and hoped that my plan would actually work. I used the green translucent PETG from Anycubic, partly because I thought it was the closest match to a natural cactus color, and partly because it was on sale. For the entire print, I needed roughly 1.5 kilograms of filament. After more than 24 hours, the print was finally finished, and unfortunately, exactly what I was worried about had happened. At the very top, there was a clear print failure. A bit disappointed, but not surprised, I decided to move on anyway. Because this is still a lamp, it needs light. When I looked at the original design, I noticed it uses a dual socket with 2 bulbs inside to create focused light spots, and honestly, I didn't really like that approach. I didn't want just a few bright spots, I wanted the entire cactus to glow evenly, from top to bottom. So I started thinking about a simpler and cheaper solution. And that's when I remembered this metal rod from an old IKEA lamp. My idea was simple. Wrap the rod with an LED strip and turn it into a kind of light tube that could sit inside the cactus. I quickly designed and printed a base plate so the metal rod could be securely screwed into the bottom. Then I wrapped it with an LED strip, making sure to use one that produces a continuous line of light without visible individual LEDs. Luckily, that part worked perfectly. With the lighting sorted, it was time to deal with the lampshade itself. In a small test, I tried using a heat gun to gently soften and close the top of the cactus, hoping to hide the print failure and create a more organic finish. The test worked surprisingly well. So, I felt confident enough to try the same thing on the full-size print. I did that first, and the result was okay. I actually think it looks more organic than the original. After all that back and forth, it was finally time to see if the lamp actually looked good. And I'll already give you a small spoiler. I have a little surprise for you, but more on that in a moment. First, I installed the LED tube and screwed it into the base, and then it was finally time to turn it on. I didn't expect to like it this much. You can see the glowing tube in the center through the translucent PETG, but instead of feeling distracting, it actually looks like a deliberate design element. Compared to the original lamp with its focused light spots, the light output here is much more even and much brighter. That said, I'm still not 100% satisfied. I was hoping I could get the shape a bit closer, especially at the very top. So now I'm curious, what do you think? Would you give this project another chance and try to improve it, or do you have ideas on how to print the tip more cleanly? I'd really appreciate any suggestions, so feel free to leave a comment. But what did this actually cost me? The filament cost me about $16 in total, the LED strip was around $6, and the power supply another $8, which puts the total cost at $30. And honestly, for that price, I'm pretty happy with the result, especially considering the original lamp sells for around $4,000. Still, I think there's room for improvement, and I'll definitely give this another try. Normally, I'd upload the files for a project like this on my Ko-fi page, but in this case, that's not possible, since the original design is protected by copyright and I want to respect that. However, that's exactly why I designed a smaller original cactus lamp for my desk instead, and that one is available on my Ko-fi page if you want to check it out. And after finishing this project, I listened to some sad music on my self-built speakers I built in another video.